Sup YouTube, it's Zapdos TCG here, and welcome back to our TCG video on my channel. On this channel you get daily Pokemon TCG content, so definitely hit that subscribe button if you're new, and at any given point if you enjoyed the video, let me know by rocking the hell out of the like button. It is super effective as usual and I always appreciate it. With that being said, we're going to be talking about the top 10 best decks in the Surging Sparks meta. I have been playing in the Surging Sparks meta for a while, and with the recent development with the popularity of Klawf left and right, we're going to be talking about the top 10 decks that I personally feel are really great picks going forward. So we do see that recently the Perf Regionals was won by Gardevoir. We did see that there's going to be a lot of interesting archetypes that are not on this list, to be honest. Think about Lugia VSTAR that actually dropped off a little bit. Ancient Box, Pidgeot Control, Snorlax Block, Palkia, Dusknoir, Archaladon, all that stuff is actually not mentioned in this video. If you want to be making sure that these actually are included, they have to be playing better at tournaments, and then they will be included into the top 10 once again. So it is based on tournament results as well as my own personal opinion. So if you guys are excited, let me know in the comments what your favorite deck is in the Surging Sparks meta, as this meta will continue on all the way up until we get the new set Prismatic Evolutions. Okay, let's start off with Dragapult Iron Thorns. I know this seems to be a very funky deck, but it has been doing well. I got a top 8 placement at Stuttgart. I got a top 8 placement at Perth Regional, so it is actually the preferred way of playing Dragapult EX as of late. You can start off and lead off with Iron Thorns with the neutralization ability, shutting down all the abilities with rule boxes from the opponent's side of the field, and if you then rely on TM Evo, you can easily set yourself up with some Drag Cloaks, and then the following turn find yourself the Future Booster Energy Capsule and start swinging with Dragapult instantly in combination with a Crispin. So I actually played this yesterday on the channel, and I must say I was really impressed with how the deck performed. You also have the Toad Scroll to protect yourself against Pokestop build decks or something like Superior Energy Retrieval against the Gholdengo, which is really effective, and I think Precious Trolley will be seeing more and more success as more people test it out and all different amount of archetypes. I also love the Terra Orb in here. That's an easy search to your Dragapult EX, and yeah, you just set yourself up quite easily. Precious Trolley in combination with TM Evo and slowing the opponent down with Iron Thorns. Iron Thorns is going to be really powerful, and it's also another way that Lugia is going to have like difficulty coming back into the format, because this is going to be an archetype that will be more and more popular as time commences in the Surging Sparks metagame. My personal favorite thing about this deck is that it literally has no weakness, because you're a dragon type Pokemon, and you shut down all the powerful fast decks, because most of them rely on Squawkabilly. Think if you're up against something like a Miraidon deck, for example, or if you're up against a Raging Bolt, they cannot use Squawkabilly. Other evolving basic decks cannot use Rotom, so that's how powerful Iron Thorns is. You just hide behind the Iron Thorns until you're ready to strike with the Phantom Dive of a Dragapult. Number 9 is going to, of course, Gardevoir EX. This list actually recently won Perf Regionals, and this is actually just a very streamlined, consistent Gardevoir list with 2 copies of Artisan, 2 copies of the TM Evo, and 2 copies of the Monkey Dory, and triple Darkness type energy. So no very crazy aggressive approach with rare candies and stuff, but it's just a clean Gardevoir list that prefers going second, going for TM Evo, get your Curlias out and start swinging. The cool thing is that you can of course hide between the fact that you can just push a Klawf up in the active, which means you pretty much do the same thing as an Iron Thorns, which means you can shut down stuff like Squawkabilly, Radiant Greninja, all that good stuff. So Klawf also low-key one of the MVP cards in a 60 like this, and yeah, not too crazy funky tech cards in the list. It is a streamlined version. I think you might think the only crazy thing about it is playing Tatsugiri, but the Tatsugiri can actually help you find yourself an Arven in the early lead, so you can find that TM Evo. So yeah, Gardevoir is still doing well. There is of course the great matchup. It boasts up against stuff like Klawf, a great matchup against stuff like, for example, the Raging Bolts of the world. So Gardevoir is still around, and it will be until rotation hits, when the Kirlia actually will get rotated. So the thing I have to say about this list is that it is hyper consistent, because you're playing the triple Darkness type energy, and the double Monkey Dory, believe it or not, is very strong. Okay, moving forward, Number 8 is going to be the winning list from the Sacramento Regionals. It's going to be Miraidon. Miraidon has slowly but steadily fallen off a little bit because of the high amount of stuff like Klawf, but don't get it twisted. The Miraidon list actually has a reasonable time boasting into the Klawf matchup because the Klawf matchup plays Terapagos. It plays a lot of 2-prizers like Regidrago V, Latias, EX, and all that stuff, so don't get it twisted. Miraidon is still a great pick. Miraidon also gained Magneton, which can blow itself up and get yourself 3 energies from the discard pile. It also has Latias EX for free retreat, and not only that, this 60 can now attack quite easily with Raichu once again because Magneton with Generator is going to be a great success. Another cool thing with Surging Sparks that the Miraidon players love is Pikachu EX, which is now the Terra Pokemon of choice. Mewtwo EX has been dropped down to the wayside, and now you can rely on Pikachu EX as a Terra Pokemon to open up your capabilities of Area 0 under that, going all the way up to 8 bench Pokemon, and you do have a ton of bench hitters you want. Pheasantipity, Mew, Iron Bundle, Squawkabilly, Raikou, Miraidons, Magnemite, Latias. So you have tons and tons of possibilities, and the 60 is also running Secret Box, which is also your ticket to more generators, and generators is going to be the way you get yourself started. So Secret Box also can get Area 0 under depth out the deck quite easily, so you can swing with that Raikou in the early lead if you want to. And I think Miraidon is still in a great position, so it's standing here on the number 8 position. Number 7, Terapagos Dusknoir. This is one of those decks that is never bad. If you're playing Terapagos Dusknoir and if you're going first, you feel just so powerful. You have the fan call with the fan rotom, getting out your Hoot Hoots, getting out your Pidgey, all that good stuff. And as soon as your second turn happens, if you were able to get out a couple of Duskull, you can just blow up the opponent's entire field. You can go Prime Catcher with DTE with the Terapagos and knock out something you want in combination with, of course, a Dusknoir pop. That could mean you can just remove 2 Charmanders from the field, 2 Dreepies from the field, all that good stuff. So it is a very strong deck, and don't forget, this list also comes back with stuff like Briar, which means you can cheat out an additional prize card because if the opponent is at exactly 2 prize cards, which you can force through the means of your Dusclops or Dusknoir, you're going to be able to take 3 prizes on whatever is in the active position if it is a 2-prizer, or if it's a 1-prizer, you can turn that into a 2-prizer through the means of Briar. I also really love the Torton in this list, but the list is very consistent, and you can also finish the game with a Blood Moon. Number 6, Gholdengo. This is Owen Cameraman's list, recently top 8 at Stuttgart. This gives you the opportunity to actually attack with Palkia VSTAR as well as Radiant Greninja, so those are additional attackers on top of Gholdengo. Some people love playing Gholdengo with the Togekiss, but that's a little bit tricky because it's not always that reliable with the coin flip of the Togekiss. Some people love to play with a 202 line of Dusknoir, but I think this is a solid baseline to start your journey if you're a Gholdengo fan because attacking with Palkia is great in a lot of matchups, as well as using Radiant Greninja. You have the Cologne, you have, of course, the Counter Catcher, and even a boss. So I think if you're falling behind, you can always go Cypher Maniac, Code Breaking, put Cologne and Counter Catcher on top, then of course draw it out through the means of concealed cards, or of course Pokestop or Coin Bonus, and then finish with a Moonlight Shuriken in that turn. I think that's also something cool with this 60. The Iron Bundle, really powerful in a deck like this because the deck does come packed with 3 copies of Irida, and with of course Energy Surge Pro, with of course Surging Sparks, it helped out the deck become from a mid deck to actually a high tier deck. I think it's a very fun deck. I also got top 4 at a cup recently with a Gholdengo deck. I actually was playing Togekiss and I was only able to activate the ability 3 times throughout my entire cup run. So Togekiss, more situational, Palkia, more useful. So that is the ideal 60 I would recommend for a Gholdengo deck. If you're still having doubts, yeah, believe me, Gholdengo is very strong. Okay, then we're gonna go to number 5. Lost Box. Lost Box did return in this format because of the Pikachu, the Terrestrialization Pikachu with the Resolute Heart ability, making sure that it cannot get one-shotted. Pikachu also was one of the ways that it pushed Lugia out the meta, or actually out of the top 10 decks at the moment, because as soon as you get a Pikachu out, Lugia is not able to respond quite easily. There is Iron Hands capabilities, where if, of course, this is a turbo-based deck with Pokestop, with vacuums and all that, so if you go second, there is a way where you can activate Mirage Gate on your very first turn. That means you can attack with stuff like Radiant Greninja, you can attack with a Pikachu, you can attack with an Iron Hands. It is all possible with a 60 like this. The only bad thing about this, why it's only the number 5th spot, is that it does boast a very bad matchup against Regidrago VSTAR, because they come back with the Kyurem, and there's not a lot of things you can do because they have Kyurem as well as Cologne in their 60s. So other than that, Lost Box has returned to the format, so any Lost Box believers out there, this is a 60 I would recommend for you guys. So you just flower selecting, use Colress's Experiment, use Lost Vacuum and all that, get yourself up to 7, and Mirage Gate to your favorite attackers. Sableye in the late game can also be very powerful, definitely in combination with Prime Catchering, something with a high retreat cost, in combination with a Roxanne. You can also win games with that strategy. So yeah, Lost Box, it is back. Then number 4 is going to be Raging Bolt. Raging Bolt is also one of the decks that is very consistently being one of the more popular decks in the format. It is always like the first or the second most popular deck in the room because it's just that easy to play. You just draw a bazillion amount of cards with the deck. You go for Squawkabilly, you go for concealed cards, you go for Pokestop, you go for Trekking Shoes, you find your Pokegear, you go for Sada, you keep on drawing cards, and I didn't even speak about the fact that you can Teal Dance for more cards. So it pretty much draws half of the deck turn 1, and it can one-shot anything in the game through the means of the Bellowing Thunder of the Raging Bolt. Raging Bolt, one of the Pokemon that has 240 HP for a basic Pokemon. Add that up with a Bravery Charm, and we're talking some very big numbers, 290 that the opponent needs to hit through. You have access to the Slitherwing, which is a very great Pokemon, not only against stuff like a Snorlax block, for example, but it can also surprise opponents when you can use Slitherwing to actually knock out a Pheasantipity, because Pheasantipity is actually weak to fighting, and this is a one-price Pokemon with stuff like Prime Catcher and Pokemon Catcher, and the one of Iodo. There's definitely some great plays you could do. Lost Vacuum also in here to help yourself out against Gardevoir, which has become a little bit more popular recently, so yeah. What can we say about Raging Bolt? It's always going to be at the top tables because the play rate is just that high, because it's an easy to play deck. Number 3, believe it or not, is Klawf Terapagos. The conversion rate from Stuttgart has shown us at least one thing, is that a deck like this is incredibly consistent to, of course, convert all the way into day 2. There was about, I think, 10% meta share in day 2 of the Stuttgart regionals, and actually during day 1 was about like 3%. So you can see how powerful Klawf Terapagos is. It was first popularized in Sacramento regionals with 2 slots in the top 32, and then in Stuttgart people took over, and a lot of players picked up the deck, and it converted really well. So it's not going anywhere. You can poison Pokemon on the very first turn, and that means you can donk people without them even drawing a card. The combination of Brute Bonnet, Patcheran in the active position, and a Radiant Hisuian Sneasel makes sure you can poison for 80 damage on the very first turn going first, meaning you can knock out weak HP Pokemon, Ralts, Charmander, you name it. It's gonna be fantastic if that happens. If not, let's say you go second, you can still do that, and there's also a possibility to attack with Klawf going first if you go second. If you go second on your first turn, that's what I mean. That means Klawf can actually slap a ridiculous amount of damage, definitely in combination with Binding Mochi. Precious Trolley gets your entire setup going, and with a Rangaroo you can get the correct tools you want. Even with a Genesect in there, it stops stuff like A-Spec cards from being played down, which is super great. You have 4 copies of Area 0 under that, which means you can go really wide on your board because of Terapagos, and Terapagos also a very reasonable attacker. With the help of Binding Mochi, with the help of Radiant Hisuian Sneasler, you can get to ridiculous numbers. It's going to be all the way up to 290, so yeah, very scary to deal with. Blood Moon can even cap all the way to the 310 damage output. So with Poison, with Binding Mochi, that's definitely some very scary things to deal with. You also boast a really great matchup against Snorlax block because of Patcheran EX, and that's why it also pushed Snorlax out of this top 10. So interesting deck. You also have the Hisuian Electrode V in combination with super effective glasses, allowing you to even one-shot with the help of Poison and Radiant Hisuian Sneasler, a one-shot a Charizard EX, which is totally fantastic. Latias with free retreat on top of Patcheran to help out to put yourself in the active position with Poison. It is all possible with a 60 like this. You can go very turbo with help like if you go first, Carmine is there. You can also go for Squawkabilly, so you do draw and have the opportunity to donk people with a 60 like this. Okay, then the second place of the best decks in the format currently for Surging Sparks is going to be Charizard. There was an all-out Charizard mirror at the Stuttgart Regionals, and this is Arnie's 60 with Charizard, a very consistent list, having the unfair stamp, having access to a 2-1-1 line of Dusknoir, even having Klawf if you want to push out a 1-prize Pokemon to draw more cards with the Grasping Draw, 2-0-2 line of Pidgeot EX, you have Radianzar for the late game, Lumineon, Rotom, and Pheasantipede are your 3 horsemen to draw cards. Lumineon can get a supporter of choice, Rotom with the Insta Charge, and if you got knocked out during the opponent's last turn, there is Pheasantipede. This is very, very powerful to, of course, get your combos going, and with Pidgeot, you can get anything you want from the deck. I could see some crazy turns happening where people have used Unfair Stamp into Dusknoir Pop, into Briar Place. It is actually kind of nuts because Unfair Stamp sometimes make sure you can draw those additional cards that you want. Unfair Stamp in combination with Pheasantipede is a lot of cards you see, so you can get the correct supporter. Sometimes you can even magically get a Torton play going, Torton into Duskull, Duskull into Candy, Dusknoir. It's all possible, and I love the versatility that the Charizard deck brings. One of the decks that actually doesn't mind playing from behind, because you do have Counter Catcher, you do have Defiance Band, you do have Unfair Stamp, and Iono on top of all of that. So Charizard, for me, second place in this Surging Sparks format. And then the number 1 pick is Regidrago VSTAR. For me, Regidrago VSTAR is the number 1 spot in the Surging Sparks format because of the versatility it brings. You now have access to another Dragon-type Pokemon in the form of the Alolan Exeggutor EX. Why is this actually very great? It allows you to preserve energies. You can just flip that coin. If it's heads, you knock out the active basic Pokemon. If tails, you knock out a basic Pokemon on the bench. And that's actually something you could use against stuff like a Snorlax block, for example. If you're up against something like a Mimikyu, if they don't have the Mist Energy, the Alolan Exeggutor does the job. And that's why I think it's very powerful. You also have Cologne, you have Kyurem, you can bench wipe, you have Goodra for protection against stuff like an Ancient Box, for example. The deck literally has it all. You can one-shot with Giratina V-Star. You can use that Alolan Exeggutor not only against Miraidon, but against other archetypes as well. Like, for example, the control matchups. There's Dragapult with the Phantom Dive to spread. There's Goodra for additional defense, which is also very great in the mirror match, by the way. So a lot of very fun stuff indeed. You have Radianzar for the late game. You can draw cards with Pheasantipede, Mew EX as well. So I think this is some of the more refined 60s. You might think about going for 2 Super Rod instead of the Superior Energy Retrieval, but because you're playing more Dragon-type Pokemon, you want to have more options to discard. And this list is actually not playing Temple of Sinnoh anymore. If you do expect Lugia to make a return into the format, then that might be an option. But this is a 60 I could get behind. So this is my number 1 pick for the top 10 best decks in the Surging Sparks format. So now it's time for you guys to let me know what you feel about the top 10 best decks in the comment section. Which deck would you put higher up on the list? Which one would you scrap from the list and replace with another one? As mentioned, stuff like Roaring Moon EX is not mentioned here. Pidgeot Control, there's a lot of, like, Snorlax Block is also not mentioned. Palkia, Dusknoir. There's so many great archetypes in this Surging Sparks format, but I only had time to actually put 10 of them on the list because this is a top 10 list, and it's based on tournament results as well as my personal opinion on how I personally feel the decks are in the current format. Also, if you enjoyed the video, let me know by rocking the hell out of the like button. It helps out in ridiculous ways you have no idea. I really, really appreciate it. We recently passed 100,000 subscribers, so I couldn't be any happier. Going into the 2025, the new year with a crazy, crazy number like that. And as usual, be sure to thank my sponsors. They are what make the videos possible every single day. DragonShield.com for your sleeves, binders, and deck boxes. Use the coupon ZAPDOS5 and get 5% off your order. There's TC Evolutions for your damage counters, ability tokens, V-Star markers. 10% off using the coupon ZAPDOSTCG. It is the time of sharing and giving, so stack up on some cool gifts for your friends and family. PokemonStore.com for your TCG Live code card needs. You can get 5% off using the coupon Zapdos TCG. With instant email delivery, you can now easily make sure your TCG Live account is up to date with all the best codes available. And then cardmarket.com for European players, where you're able to buy as well as sell cards to people all across Europe. You can use the referral name Zapdos TCG to even help support the channel further. Have yourself a fantastic rest of your day. Pick one of these decks and you'll be doing great at your next challenge, your league challenge, league cup, or even a regional tournament. Have yourself a great day, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Peace.